No, I'm really excited about how AI can be used to help people, um, better connect with people rather than the other way around. Like even at
Mhm,
Stanford, just like seeing the way that like students are using AI, it's
mhm.
incredible. Like the capabilities of students and just people that I've seen around me when they like truly embrace AI is it's transformational.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Frustrated to Fluent. I'm your host, Devon Bruce. I'm the founder and CEO of the English Communication Academy, and we help non native English speakers in healthcare communicate effectively with our patients, colleagues, and staff. And today I'm speaking with Adi Bora. He is the co founder of Versa, which is a company building real time AI interfaces to make human computer interaction feel truly conversational. Motivated by the challenge of helping people build fluency in a new language, he created Versa to offer immersive, lifelike speaking practice through AI. With a background in electrical engineering and computer science from Stanford, he is passionate about using cutting edge tech to make language learning more accessible, engaging, and effective. So, Addie, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited to be on as well.
Thank you so much. And the reason why that I'm excited to talk to you is for a number of reasons. One, I was checking out your website to do a bit of research, and wow, for you to be someone who's a college student right now at Stanford, I was taking a look at your resume. You are not new to this. Like you have been, your resume is amazing. So I just had to give you a special shout out. Like it's so impressive. It's like no wonder you're a student at Stanford. Like you're
Thank you.
very it's
Thank you.
amazing your resume. So you are really into this type of tech. And so I just want to ask you with your resume, especially with robotics and things like that, what inspired you and your team to focus on AI for language development? And then also, can you give us a quick overview of the Stanford project and the problem that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, for sure. I think I could start with like the problem that we're trying to solve. Essentially, we feel like for um, language learners, their most valuable skill oftentimes for them is like speaking. And so we feel like there's not a truly accessible way for people to like develop those skills right now in extremely easy user friendly way which is also affordable and available to them because as we know like everyone is working and oftentimes like being able to go in to take classes or like have scheduled appointments for learning can often be difficult in a modern day when people are extremely busy. And so yeah, we felt like there was a really big gap and an opportunity to help language learners really develop their speaking skills in a super accessible way. And so basically what we've developed is a AI avatar which is based on novel technology which is designed to look exactly like a person. And we feel like that's extremely valuable because in language learning, especially being able to interact with an actual person gives a completely different experience than if you were over the phone or even speaking with like an animated figure. And so we've been working with a professor at Stanford who leads the English learning department here. And that was a big thing that we came across was making a truly human-like interface. Exactly like how we're having a conversation on Zoom. That's the kind of interface that we wanted to replicate because we think that that's the most effective and most enjoyable way for people to develop their speaking skills. And so for the reason as to like why we picked this project, I think like as you had mentioned, like a lot of my background is in robotics. Like I built like self-tying shoes in high school and things like that. And I think that like as I came to college, my primary motivation for building all these different projects has always been like, how can I get whatever I build in the hands of the most people? And for me, it's like always been about impact. And that's why I think that like when I came across this particular problem, I felt that the opportunity to like really help people was so clear, and also building a solution and being able to share it with, people around the world. We have people using our product in like Egypt and Brazil, and like, getting to learn about people's stories is something that I thought was super super fascinating and motivational. So that's why we ended up picking this project.
That's awesome. I love it. And I personally want to thank you just because with what we do with the Academy, we primarily work with doctors who are non native English speakers, and their problems are the pain that they feel because of the problem that they have is real. It keeps them up at night. The fact that first of all, a lot of them feel like a doctor needing help is bad, but a doctor needing help with their English, that's next level guilt and shame. So helping in regards to the information that the feedback that I got from them to help with this has just been so amazing. So I just personally want to thank you for your passion with this, because this is something that I think is going to be so amazing, because a lot of them are very busy and they want some sort of practice that feels as realistic as possible. And I feel like what you've developed is going to really help with that. When they feel like they just don't have the time to practice in the way that they want, like with another human being, or as a supplement until they can practice with another human being. So I'm really excited about what's going to happen in the future with this.
I'm super excited. I think one thing that we like often like take for granted or just assume is that like extremely educated people might feel like, I can't ask for help, or I don't, and
Hmm.
that I don't struggle with this problem, but I think it's like an extremely real problem that like literally all kinds of people face. And so it's
Yes.
like one thing I'm really excited about.
Absolutely. And that's one reason why in the academy we really focus on community building, because a lot of them feel like they're on an island of one and it's just them and nobody understands, and it's very alienating. And so to release that stigma is essential in regards for them to get the help that they need, and your a product like yours is definitely going to help with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Now, the people that we work with in healthcare, like I said, a lot of them are mostly doctors. A lot of them, they're fluent, and then a lot of times they're extremely fluent, but they freeze up when they speak, or they just don't have the confidence to speak up. How might AI help reduce that communication anxiety?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really interesting question. I think for like anyone that has like had some kind of, like language education experience in the past, it's like honestly the a same like the problem ends up being the same regardless of your fluency. And I think it like ultimately comes down to your confidence. So I took like Spanish for so many years, and I remember that in my brain I would I would like fully understand what I wanted to say, but when it came time to have a conversation with someone, or like even I'd be at traveling, and my friends or my family would ask me to speak Spanish, I would just have a lot of anxiety and be extremely nervous, and I'd be like, no, there's no way I can do that. And I think even at the highest levels, like someone as educated as like a doctor, it comes down ultimately to the same problem of building confidence. And
Hmm.
I think that in most cases, the best way to build confidence is honestly just to practice until it feels secondhand, like it feels so natural because you've done it so many times. And I think that with AI, especially now with the capabilities that it has to really mimic, human conversation, it opens up the possibilities to give people the most accessible way to practice language that there has ever existed before, and essentially the most effective way possible.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm actually going to ask like another follow-up question to that, because some of the research that I've given you is based off of what the doctors in the academy have told me, that they have pretty much specific question or specific issues, like giving a diagnosis or dealing with a difficult patient or family member, or how to speak up in a high pressure situation like an ER room or something like that. So,
Mhm.
how does your AI tool help someone for high stakes conversations like that? Like,
Yeah.
delivering bad news or giving a diagnosis. How does your tool help with that
Right.
specifically?
Yeah, for sure. So, as I mentioned, basically what we do is we build these conversational interactions with this essentially lifelike avatar. And so one of the coolest things about our platform is that we can create these scenarios which are designed to be exactly what it would be like if you were to put a doctor in in the room with a patient and they're like, either frustrated or struggling, and we can essentially tailor these conversations to be as similar to what they would experience in real life, but also add the dynamicism and the unpredictability of what a person would say, so that like each time let's say they practice this situation with our platform, it'll be different, just like it would be in the real life.
Wow.
Because the idea is not to like have them memorize some kind of script. It's more to, like, make them feel confident that, like, even in these different, like, variations of, like, a specific case, like, dealing with, you know, a a struggling patient or something like that, they're able to handle it as they would in real life.
That is so exciting to hear because this is something that is such a problem. It's something that they struggle with. For example, this was a while ago, and we were working with some of the doctors, and we were talking about how to give empathy or how to relate empathy in English because a lot what we do is we bridge the language gap. So we don't teach them English because they already know it. However, there's a gap between the textbook English that they know and the everyday working man's English that they need in order to communicate effectively. So that's what we do. We focus on bridging that gap. Anyway, we were talking about how to say or how to show empathy and compassion in a medical setting. And one of the doctors said that that was really hard for him to do. And so I asked him to elaborate, and he just said, well, the reason why that it's hard is because first and foremost, I'm a human being. And if I'm giving someone the worst news of their life, I want to hug them. I want to cry with them, but I can't because I'm their doctor. That's number one. Number two is that English is not my first language. And so I have to figure out what to say and how to say it, and the topic itself is very hard. And then three, I'm dealing with other people's emotions, either my patient's emotions or their family members' emotions, depending on what I'm telling them. So that he said it's so hard to talk in an empathetic way when he has all these things going on in his head. And I just thought that made so much sense. And that's where a lot of the misunderstandings come from, because if you, especially you're dealing with a non-native English speaking doctor, and they may come across as cold and they might not care, there's a lot going on in that person's head. So going back to what you have created and giving them the opportunity to just practice these types of scenarios is going to be a game changer. It's going to be so helpful, and it's going to be able to be on their time and also in a safe space. Safety is very important when you are trying to overcome these types of obstacles. So
Yeah.
it's really exciting to hear that this type of technology exists now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think one thing that you just mentioned, which super resonate with a lot, is the safety aspect of it. I think that especially in language, one of the big challenges with developing speaking skills is the comfort and the safety. So even if you were to hire like a personal tutor, there's still that hesitation that comes with another person being across the screen from you, and you're concerned about the way that this unspoken judgment that you think exists, which oftentimes which almost never exists
I
with
know.
teachers, but like
You're so
it
right.
yeah, but it always feels that way, I think, just because of like
Yeah.
the social aspects that we have as people. I
Mhm.
think that that's like a really cool thing about AI, is that, and something that like we hope to like be able to develop more with the idea of like having like a lifelike avatar, is you don't feel that same kind of judgment, but you can still develop like, that kind of realism, and give people like the ability to like feel like they're immersed in that situation without the judgment. And that's a huge thing that we believe is a really unique and exciting aspect about AI, is that we want to be able to take the best parts of an interaction with a person and also offer them the safety and the comfort to not feel like they're being judged.
Love it. Oh, that's so exciting. That's so exciting. Now, can AI, the thing that you developed, can AI play a role in helping them be better understood or even help them become more inclusive listeners? I ask because active listening is such a key component to communicating effectively, which is often overlooked. So, is that something that your product can do as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think that at least with our current product, we haven't introduced pronunciation feature, but that's something that we want to release very soon. But with the current state of the product, being understood and active listening is essentially baked into the fundamental product itself. Because each of these simulations are dynamic and, different every time and designed to be, um, like what it would be like if they were to speak with a person in that situation, being able to pay attention and respond accordingly to how these, simulated scenarios are is huge. I think one more thing is like being understood. It's honestly interesting because some of the limitations of our technology, let's say someone may have an accent, and so the way that our model understands what they say might not be perfect, is actually something that like we've tried to capitalize on. So like just
Hmm.
like in the real world, if a person were not to understand, like our model will often face times when they might mishear a word that the person says. And so our product is designed to respond in a similar way to as if like a person didn't understand what was being said. And I think
That's
that that's
smart.
super exciting as well.
Yeah, that's very, very smart. Going back to that safety bit, if there's a misunderstanding, it's not in a high stakes situation like in an ER room or in a big board meeting. They're able to just deal with it in a low pressure environment. And that's something that I've been talking about for years in regards to how to help combat this issue. We have to create low pressure situations and safe, low pressure environments in order for us to actually deal with the issue because it goes way beyond fluency. Even though English is the issue, it's much deeper than that.
Yeah. 100%.
Much deeper than that. Now, in regards to this, let's say going back to this scenario, like someone's trying to practice giving a diagnosis. So, what kind of feedback loop does your AI product offer? Can it show people where they're improving or where they messed up or what phrases or habits they could work on? How does the feedback part work?
Yeah. So that's something that we also are we think is really, really cool and something that's unique about AI. So basically what we do is after a conversation or one of these simulations is complete, what we do is we go back and essentially look at the conversation and we take specific instances of like an exchange between a doctor and, our AI patient. And we can actually take that, like isolate individual instances of an exchange between the doctor and the person and suggest alternatives to where they could have improved. So we think that that's really cool because it's something that's really hard to do in real life. Like if I were to tutoring someone, I wouldn't be able to like follow them around and give them feedback in their conversations that they're having and isolate specific instances which like if they use a word incorrectly in the real world during conversation, I wouldn't be there to give them feedback. But I think like being able to like actually look at a conversation and then go back and review it with the person, especially in
Mhm.
a spoken situation, is like it's really hard to do right now. It's like, it's almost impossible. And I think that being able to do that right after you have a conversation with someone is really, really cool. Because you can look back and think on a conversation that you just had and be like, in this specific instance, I said this, but I should have or I could have said this, which would have been better. And I think that that helps stick better than traditional feedback that you might see on an app saying like, "Oh, you like said this phrase correctly."
Okay, it's very promising for sure. Now, I'm actually curious about this next question just because I write about this on LinkedIn at least once a week in regards to AI transforming healthcare.
Mhm.
Now, in regards to the language learning side of it, how do you see AI supporting language coaches or academies like mine in healthcare? Like, what does that future look like for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is not replacing the language industry as a whole. When I mean that, all the people that are in this industry are by far the most valuable resource that any language learner, will have. But I think that the way that AI will move forward in this industry is being able to supplement the instruction and the advice that people get in an academy when they get to, experience and get to learn from individuals. I think that, like, in language learning as a whole right now, the reason we don't see greater levels of fluency is because they have some great instruction, but then they don't get to practice. Um,
Uh-huh.
and I think that, like, the goal would be to, like, bake the philosophy of a teacher into, say, our platform for their students so that, like, the the learning continues after you have in-person teaching, and that same all those, like, philosophies that a teacher wants to share with their students gets carried on after they leave the classroom and gives them that experience so that the teacher, can promote whatever they're trying to teach for the students, like, when most convenient for the students.
I see. And I really appreciate you saying that just because that's something that I write, like I said, once a week on LinkedIn, that AI is not a replacement. It's a complement, it's a supplement because that human connection, that human emotion, that human component can never be replaced. And so it's so important to understand that difference because I feel like some people are really nervous about it, which I totally get. I understand some people's apprehension because of how fast it's developing and what the potential is for it. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and that human connection and that human component is essential. So that's how I plan on using it in the academy. And I know I've said this before, but oh my gosh, this has been such a joy working with you on this, just because it's so exciting to see where this could go and just how much it's going to help people. So I'm really excited about that. And then this final question here, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but just to wrap this up, what's one piece of advice that you can give to a non-native English speaker in healthcare who's nervous about AI replacing human connection in their communication journey?
Yeah. I think, like with all new technology, it's super natural to be nervous and not really be sure as to, like, the value add. I think the biggest thing, at least even for me, that I think has been key is keeping an open mind with regards to new technology. It's still developing, and, even with a product like ours, it's not perfect at all. But I think that if we all approach new technology like AI with the mindset of how can we take the best parts of it to help us, it can be such an enabling tool. And I think that at the end of the day, one of the biggest things is over the course of history, even today in the digital age with social media like being so prevalent, we can see that, like, people still crave the ability to interact with other real people. And, like,
Mhm.
even all the problems that we're, like, facing with social media, like, ultimately stem down to, like, people having less connection you know with other humans.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, AI is not, at least I certainly hope that AI won't, ever replace that. And I think that it can be really an enabling factor to help us, like, better connect with each other.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that, like, language is the biggest part in that. Yeah, and I'm really excited about how AI can be used to help people, better connect with people rather than the other way around. And I think that, yeah, like, keeping an open mind and trying to take the best parts and, like, really really, like, taking a leap of faith to embrace new tools can be huge. Like, even at
Mhm.
Stanford, just, like, seeing the way that, like, students are using AI just because it's pushed so heavily here, like, it's
Mhm.
incredible. Like, the capabilities of students and just people that I've seen around me when they like truly embrace AI is it's transformational.
Very interesting. Interesting indeed. Okay, so thank you. So, Addie, where can people find you online?
Yeah. So we have an app on the App Store and the Play Store. It's called Versa Personal English Tutor. You can find the links on our website. It's www.learnversa.com. And yeah, it's free to download and try. And we're, super excited to work together with you, Devin, and the Academy to introduce new products for healthcare workers as well. And another thing is that like we're a relatively new company, so a lot of feature requests and things that people might want are they're very capable of being created, and so we're really excited to work with anyone who wants to like embrace AI and give it a try.
Awesome. Thank you. And the link for those are in the description box below. And if you are a healthcare worker and you are feeling like you want some extra support, we do have a free academy available for you. And the link to join us is in the description box below as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. This was a great conversation. Addie, thank you so much for coming on. This was fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me. It honestly it feels amazing to be able to work together.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for tuning in and listening. And I will see you next time. Take care.